up, guys? So I'm doing this, I did the white file mission in Skyrim, and it involves, this cave, and I walk out of this cave, and I see this shit. Just fucking skeleton hand rolling around. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I look at it, it's got a sword on it, so I'm like, this has to be a dead skeleton, but it's just fucking bizarre. I see this, and I'm like, what? So it's rolling around, right? And I kind of investigate further, and there's another skeleton hand doing the same exact thing. And I just I'm looking around, and I'm like, where'd this come from? Where is this, dead skeleton? I'm just like, what? Because I figured it had to be nearby. So I'm searching all up and down in these hills, checking around everywhere. Just doing some investigation, just looking around. And I try picking it up, try moving it, different things. Tried seeing if I could find a body for it, anywhere. I was like, maybe if I dragged it far enough, maybe more pieces of it will come around. I tried spawning it again. Pretty much nothing was really happening. Wasn't sure what this was. So just going so going a little bit further, I'm just yeah, you know what, there's some iron ore, I'll just mine that. Alright, so then I decided to travel up this hill. And I'm like, because I remember fighting these skeletons up here. So I go all the way up this hill, I'm kind of looking around, see if there's anything else moving around. I see that fox. And then I find these bones over here, and these skeletons, and I'm like, well, maybe these are the same skeletons, right? So I try moving them around, just kind of checking them out. And eventually I come to the conclusion they have this sword on them. So I come down here and I check the same skeletons. And they too also have the same sword. So after I find this skeleton's hand in this bush, which is harder than it looks, I decided, what if I take the sword? And it says it's empty. So then I run back up the mountain. And I come across its body and I realize that yes, it is the same skeleton. It's missing its same sword, which is very odd. So I decide, I'll be a good guy, and I give him his sword back. Then I got to thinking, well, maybe I could simulate the same event with a cabbage. So I take the cabbage, and I drop it, and I decide to follow it. But it doesn't go nearly the same way. So I decide that, maybe I didn't roll it off the right side of the cliff. And I decide, well, I'll take it over here and roll it down this way. So I follow it for a little bit. And it goes somewhere close, but it doesn't really go the same way. Doesn't really go to the same area. So the cabbage was here. But the skeleton bones ended up being here, in this area. So I enter the cave and decide to come back out again and see if there's some kind of like spawning or something that maybe makes it so when I walk out of this cave then the bones respawn. So I decide, well, going out of the cave, maybe I'll see them rolling around again. And I don't know if you heard that, but I can hear bones moving. So I kind of like look around further and try to investigate, and all I see is the hand that I put there. That's it. So I decide to see if I can raise a zombie, maybe spawn this skeleton to fight for me. Clearly I can't cast that spell on just that hand right there, so I run back up the mountain. I get back to the top, and I can't even do it. So at this point, I'm just like, maybe I should give up. I'm like, whatever, I find some steel ingots, try it again, can't do it. So I was like, darn. So I decided, well, So I eventually figure out, well, if a cabbage won't work, why don't I just grab the pieces of the skeleton, try to throw it down the same hill, and see if it does the same thing. And it kind of doesn't really do it. So at this point I kind of just gave up and started doing something else. And then I heard the weird noise. And I look over, and I find this skeleton again. And I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, it's starting to creep me out at this point. And I'm like, because I'm considerably, like, quite a distance from where I originally was. So I walk back down the hill to show you where that other bone was that I threw down there. And then I look at this tree and I find more pieces of the skeleton, which is very odd. But if you keep going down here, right in this area is where the bones fell off the side of that hill. So I thought maybe that thing, that foot, somehow teleported to me. But I don't know, that doesn't really make sense. So I decided to head back up to the hill and investigate this further and just kind of figure out what in the heck is just going on. Like, this is kind of eerie at this point. And sure enough, I get here and it looks the same as I left it. So this is just very odd at this point. So I decided to drag more bones off this skeleton and see if I can get them to go in any other weird directions, just to check it out. I almost end up killing myself jumping off this cliff following these bones. But I'm just like, whatever, and I decide to run back to the fort. And I'm heading there, and I'm trying to see if I can find any more bones over here. Trying to see if anything else popped up. Then I decide to go back to the tree. And I get to it, and now I swear there's another bone that showed up. Because there was originally only 3 there before. But then I thought about it, and I realized it was that foot or that hand that was moving before, and it ended up landing there. So this is just weird. I'm just at a loss for what's going on. So I decided to run back and check and make sure like all the bones are still there. Having a hard time finding them. So I decided to run back up the hill, and when I get to the top, I decide to investigate this skeleton further. And it looks the same still. And I decide, how about I throw another bone off the mountain for safe measure. Just to see what happens. So I follow it down. It gets stuck on a bunch of crap. So I have to keep picking it up, putting it in different spots. And it does some weird things. Like, it does not roll the right way. It goes through mountains. It does just weird stuff. Eventually I just decided to throw it off the ledge. And it's weird because the bone has like the weight of the skeleton, but it's just a single bone. And I get down to it, and it's still just acting weird. Like it's rolling up a hill, going back and forth. Just bizarre kind of crap. But it stops moving. So I decided to run back and check the bone pile again. Just for safe measure, see if I can find the other bone that I threw up the cliff, see if it like spawned over here. See if anything different changed. Basically trying to replicate the same thing that I did. And I come over here, and it's the same stuff. Nothing different. Check it, still has the same sword. Decide to take the sword, and then I realize this is 2 pieces of a skeleton. So somehow the 2 skeletons that are up there ended up both landing down here at some way. So I decide I'm going to put a cabbage on each of them to make sure they are in fact the same skeletons that are up on top of the cliff and not different ones. Because maybe I made a mistake. Maybe these skeleton pieces down here are from some other weird skeleton in a different area, and I just am out of my mind and just going off some crazy theory. But I check this skeleton bone, there's a cabbage on it. I find this skeleton bone, there's a cabbage on it. I run back up the hill. Get all the way to the very top. Check these skeleton bones. There's a cabbage on them. So apparently, the 2 bones down there, and the 2 bones over by that fort, and the 2 dead skeletons up here, are all part of the same 2 skeletons. So obviously, they're all the same, and they all somehow got strewn about. And you can see the fort in the background here. Like, it's pretty far away. So I throw another bone off and decide to check it. Follow it down for some further investigation, and I screwed up and killed myself. And at this point I thought all hope was lost. But when I reloaded, which was the autosave at the cave, here are these skeleton bones again. And here's another piece of a skeleton bone. So yeah, this is just weird. And here's the skeleton bone before. So these are different pieces of the same skeletons. And this is just tripping me out. So I decided to run all the way back to the fort. And the skeleton bones on the tree aren't there. Which is just weird. So I don't know how I managed to get the skeleton bones on that tree. But somehow me manipulating the bones and dragging them off the side of that mountain somehow got the bones by that tree. And right there, there's another skeleton bone. So it's just creepy. So anyway, guys, I guess skeleton bones can travel all over the place. So, yeah, just be careful when you're killing some skeletons, because their bones might go all up and down the area. Kind of freaky. Yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video, and have a good day.